Well, here we go. It is Tuesday. It is March. It is the 12th day of March, and good to be on with you on this wonderful morning. Hope this morning finds you well. Hope you have a wonderful Tuesday planned, and hope you've got some goals and things you like to get accomplished today, and I hope that you are able to get them done. Let's do this. If you're just now jumping on, let's hit that share button real quick so that people know that we are live and ready to go. Need to apologize here for, well, maybe two things, I guess. Sorry for the lateness of our time together. And then, secondly, yesterday's power up the sound did not go through for a couple of the platforms that we post on, and so that's why it was not on yesterday. I'm not sure what the deal was with that. Hopefully today it goes a little bit better, but yesterday we had some sound issues. I'd posted on both platforms, and they did not produce any sound, so for that I apologize. Let's do this. Go to Daniel chapter number 1. We're going to maybe finish out chapter 1 this morning. We'll see how it goes. And once again, it's good to have you on with me today. All right, here we go. We're going to start in verse number 14. So Daniel chapter 1 and verse number 14. Remember, Daniel has approached Melzar, the eunuch there, the prince of the eunuchs, said, Melzar, we can't eat or drink the food that you're giving to us. Prove us and test us 10 days. And we see that Melzar, verse number 14, so he consented to them in this matter and proved them 10 days. And we know the response that Daniel had with Melzar and so on. And we know the relationship that had been built, if you will, and God had allowed Daniel to find grace in Melzar's sight. We then see in verse number 15, we see the end of this 10-day proving. And at the end of 10 days, their countenances appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children which did eat the portion of the king's meat. And so God blessed, God provided, and God allowed Daniel, Mishael, Azariah, and Mishael, Hananiah, Azariah, and Daniel allowed their bodies to appear fairer than those that had eaten of the king's meat. Okay. And then we note here in verse number 16, thus Melzar took away the portion of their meat and the wine that they did drink and gave them pulse. That pulse he gave them for all intents and purposes, fruits, vegetables, those types of things. And I want us to note here as we move on in verse number 17, just kind of the progression here in these young men in their life. Look what also happens. Not only was their flesh fairer, and they appeared fatter in flesh, but verse number 17, and as for these four children, God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. And so God blessed these four tremendously with knowledge, with wisdom. Daniel was blessed with unique gift as well. And I want us to just pause for a second. I don't want us to get the wrong idea. If we're not careful, we could say, "Yeah, obey God. Do what God wants you to do. Obey the scriptures of God, and you'll get everything you want in this life." Okay, that's not the truth. Here in Daniel's case, God blessed because they did remain faithful, because they did obey. But I want you to know the life that they have been subjected to. They've been removed from their country. They are learning new languages, new knowledge they are gaining, and the list goes on. They're in a new environment. Okay, and so all of that has changed for them. And so let's not think that all of their problems are gone simply because of their obedience. Okay, here's just a reality of our relationship with God. Ought we to obey the Lord? Yes. Ought we to do that which we know is right to do? Yes, of course we should. Does that mean that we're going to get everything that we want, that everything in our life is going to work out exactly how we want? No. It's not what that means. But I will tell you this, we need to do what we know is right to do. regardless of the consequences. It's almost like we see in Corinthians how Paul planted, Apollos watered, God gave the increase. Okay, what did Paul and Apollos do? They did what they were supposed to do, and God gave the increase. Okay, we do what we're supposed to do. We leave the results up to God. Now, if God would not have intervened and answered the prayers, I am sure we know what would have happened. Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, they could have been killed. We know that other times here in the book of Daniel that even though Daniel does what is right, he suffers for it. We know that Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, they do what's right, and they suffer for it. Okay, and so we know that that's going to happen. We just need to go with that mindset of just simply trusting God and doing what we know is right to do, what God desires of us to do, and leaving the results up to God. That is important for us, an important truth for us to remember. We don't control the results. We control what we do. We control our response to life situations. Now let's move on. Now at the end of the days, that the king had said he should bring them in, then the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. And the king communed with them, and among them all was found none like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore stood they before the king. And so this time of training, this time of, if you will, brainwashing had come to an end. And Nebuchadnezzar meets with those that had gone through this retooling, this retraining or brainwashing, and he finds that Daniel, Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael are really head and shoulders above the rest. And they owe it all to the Lord. And we find verse over 20, this being described a little bit more, and in all matters of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all his realm. Okay, now let's kind of, if I can do this, kind of personalize it for us today. We read that, what an incredible, God's sovereignty, God's protection upon these 4 young men, and God just working in their life, incredible. Now let's kind of look at that from our perspective, make a little bit of application if we can. Okay. We've already made some. Really, it's therefore to him that knoweth to do good, doeth it not to him it is sin. If you know what's right to do, do it. Okay, we made that application already. Another application may be this, and I don't want to stretch it too much, but it might be this. There is, for us in 2024, there are an incredible amount of knowledgeable people in this world. People that are extremely smart. But the Bible says, but the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. I want to just encourage you in regards to your faith. Sometimes it can be intimidating in the world that we live in. It can be intimidating to have interactions with people, to talk with people. Because we might not think, hey, I'm not smart enough, don't have that knowledge. Or maybe this is your thought process, and I'm praying that this is not. But we think, man, the Bible, it speaks to maybe creation. It has some of these incredible miracles in it, and they seem outlandish. And it's not necessarily a lack of faith. It's maybe just the shamedness. And Paul said, for I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God. Don't be ashamed of what you believe in this book here. I want to encourage you, if God said it, I believe it, and then let's live it. Let's practice it. Let's truly believe it. Hey, let's stand up for it. Listen, we are in a world, in a society today that is going contrary to the scriptures, beginning with what you believe about origins, what you believe about gender, what you believe about marriage, and the list goes on. And there's some very learned people that would challenge our faith. Listen, if God said it, I believe it. And hey, let's not be ashamed of it. Let's be willing to stick to our guns, if you will, stick up and stand up for what is truth and what is right. We find in verse number 21, and Daniel continued even unto the first year of King Cyrus. And so he begins here with King Nebuchadnezzar, and he serves several kings and continues even into the first year of King Cyrus. And that is somebody who just simply trusted God, lived by faith, did what he knew what was right to do, and left the results up to God. That's what we do. We might not always understand the results. I'll say this, we might not always like the results. But you know what? Let's leave them up to the Lord. And let's simply trust and live by faith. All right? There's chapter number 1, kind of in the books there. We'll get into chapter number 2 tomorrow. And Nebuchadnezzar and some of his dreams. Good to have you on today. A good number on this morning. Let's greet those that have commented live here today. If you are still watching, haven't commented, I would encourage you to comment and get a shout out here. Cliff and Kara, good morning to you both. Have a wonderful day. Listen, it's for everybody, Northern Michigan. It's going to be a beautiful day today. Mid-60s, they're saying. Excited about that. David, good morning to you. Have an awesome day. Ingrid, good morning to you. Love you and have a great day as well. Charlie and Marcia, it is going to be a good day. You guys have an awesome one. Dennis and Geraldine, good morning to you both. Jody, good morning to you. Hope that you're well. And then Paula, good morning to you. Good to have you on today. And the rest of you who are watching, hope that our Power Up was a blessing to you. Once again, hit that share button if you haven't done so, and we'll touch base again tomorrow morning. Once again, sorry about the lateness here. We're not at a normal time. Hopefully it doesn't throw you off too much. Have a great day, everybody. We'll touch base again on the morrow.